Within 4 months, she got pregnant and she had a baby. And it's funny, when she got pregnant, she was in like the 6th or 7th month. And she said to me, she goes, Andrea, she goes, do you know that if you teach people how to heal themselves, you're going to be out of business?
Food is medicine. All right. Do you believe that? Now, if you've been listening to me for a long time on Holistically Speaking, I know that you're following that way of being, right? Your body has healing powers. The planet does too, right? And when you take a deep dive into the world of holistic health, you find that there's a lot of others like us. And there's a lot of people sharing knowledge and they're passionate about it. And I have to say, I am girl crushing right now with who I'm about to share with you. When I attended the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, where I got my certification in holistic health, being a holistic health coach, I stumbled upon one person who was not only passionate about holistic way of living, but she is a firecracker. And if you are in this world as well, you know who Andrea Beaman is. Andrea, oh my gosh, I am so excited to have you here. I remember the first time I saw you and watching the videos on IIN when I was going through the program thinking, I am obsessed with this woman, not in a bad way. There's no like restraining orders needed, but I resonated with how you were sharing holistic health, holistic way of being. And then to be in the room with you, to get a chance to meet you at Heal the Healer, to introduce you even, because we were both on that stage, to be there with you and just say, I'm so elated to know you and have you here to be able to share this amazing way that we choose to live. So thanks for being here.
Aw, thanks for that amazing introduction, sister. My heart is going boom, 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 boom. I love her. Love her back.
You're amazing. And you just make it so much fun. That's what I remember first. When you were sharing your videos, when you were giving us permission to live healthy. And I love saying it that way because a lot of times we deny ourselves that, thinking it's a way of being. It just seems so easy the way you shared it, you know, and you come with so much credibility. You're kind of like the OG of holistic health coaching. And that's a big title. You've won numerous awards. You've published books. You're a natural food chef. You are also a herbalist. And there's so much about you that just adds onto layers of everything that breathes the word holistic. But I'm curious, and I know people tuning in are like, how did this chick from Queens, New York, get into the world of holistic health?
It's such a good story because I was the furthest thing from a healthy person that you could imagine. I mean, literally like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I was bartending. You know, at one point I was working for MTV Networks and flying around the country and just partying with people, you know, for a living.
Yeah.
And my wake up call came, believe it or not, when my mom got sick with breast cancer. She had breast cancer when I was a little kid, right? It was back in the 80s. I was like 11 years old or something like that. And she got breast cancer. And back in the 80s, they would take off your breast and they would take off all the lymph nodes and they would, you know, do this radical mastectomy. She had that surgery and all that stuff. And then the doctors said, oh yeah, you know, like we'll watch her for 5 years and see what happens. And then she'll be, you know, considered cancer free. So 5 years later, no cancer came back and she was considered cancer free. And 11 years after the initial breast cancer diagnosis, my mom faints in the bathroom. We take her to the hospital and the doctor comes out and they ran a whole bunch of tests and she's in there for, you know, a couple of days. And they said, listen, we have some terrible news. The breast cancer that she had has come back and it's in her bones, it's in her liver, it's in her lungs, it's in her brain, it's everywhere in her body. And my dad said, okay, well, let's do whatever we can to help my mom. But then he started researching other things, which was very smart. It dawned on me, I'm like, how did this breast cancer come back? It was the breast was gone, the lymph nodes were gone, everything was gone. How did it come back? Where did it come from? Like what? I don't understand the whole thing. And so my dad had read an article about a doctor that had healed himself with macrobiotics. Remember, this is back in the 80s and the 90s. That was big. So he had healed himself from pancreatic cancer of all things, which is, like the death sentence of all death sentences. So my dad read the article and he said, hey, let's try this with mom. And I said, okay, I'll try this. We'll try it with mom, because I chose to do the cooking and all that stuff and take care of her. And he said, I want you to go up to this institute in Massachusetts, in the Berkshires.
We're talking about the Shires.
I want you to go up to this Massachusetts thing, the Cushy Institute, and spend a week with your mom and learn everything that you can. So I go up there for a week, and my mom, in that 1 week, because she was just like gray after the radiation and the chemotherapy, like literally she was just like gray color, gray lips, no life in her face, hair falling out. So we go up there and we spend a week there eating that food, which was like naturally grown and, not out of a box. It was like right from the backyard garden that they had, and it was all natural food. And one of the things that I noticed during that week was that the color came back to her lips and to her cheeks for the first time. And she had energy. And I started going to the bathroom, and which was a rare occasion because I was a chronic dieter, right? So as a chronic dieter, eating everything no fat, low fat, no, this, no, that. I couldn't go to the bathroom like maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. And then it was a struggle. So I saw her energy shift, and I saw what happened to my physical body. So we left the Cushy Institute and we started using this diet and all that stuff with my mom. And unfortunately, my mom didn't have the energy to pull back from the devastation from chemotherapy and radiation for her body. Some people can get through that, but for her, she couldn't. And after she died, I planted the seed in my mind. If you get sick with anything, go alternative first. Don't destroy your body. You go alternative first and then see what happens. So as fate would have it, 4 years later or 5 years later, I was diagnosed with hyperthyroid. I had a really large goiter, right? My neck was like this big. And that's what my little goiter looked like.
Wow.
I know, a cute little goiter, right? I was like all neck.
Like a conjoined twin.
I know. I had a whole nother me popping out of my neck.
Did you name it? I always hear that people name stuff like that, like build a relationship with it, right?
Yeah,
Because it's still a part of you, right?
Yeah, but I didn't want any part of it. I was like, this thing is just horrible. It walked into the room 5 minutes before I got there.
Jeez.
So
see, there's humor in the healing. I love that about you.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course, not when you're in the throes of it. When you're in the throes of it, you're like, oh, this sucks. I can't sleep at night. I can't go to the bathroom. Like all this crazy stuff happens. So when I went to the doctor said, okay, so you have hyperthyroid. You need to take radioactive iodine to destroy your thyroid and then be on medication for the rest of your life. And I was like, no, radioactive, nothing is coming inside this body. I said, I'm going to change my diet, my lifestyle, and then I'll get back to you. And the doctor goes, listen, your diet and your lifestyle have nothing to do with your disease. And I was like, okay, I get that that's what you've been trained, but I saw something else. So I'm going to change. I'm going to do some changes. So I left the doctor's office, and instead of focusing on dieting, which was my default, no fat, non-fat, low fat, all that craziness, right? I immediately shifted into, okay, I'm going to do whole foods, natural foods, everything naturally raised, and see what happens. And initially I had gone macrobiotic because that was like what I learned years ago about what happened with my mom.
Yeah.
So within 4 months, I lost like 18 pounds without trying. My goiter started shrinking. It started getting soft and shrinking. I was sleeping through the night. I was going through the bathroom. Like all these amazing things were happening. So I go back to the doctor, the same doctor, and I said, and she took my blood, and the blood work came back, and she goes, listen, she goes, your thyroid numbers have changed, but it's still not normal, and you got to take this medication. And I said, doc, I'm not going to take any medication. I thank you for your opinion, but that's all that it is. And at the time, I was working with MTV Networks, so I had insurance. I haven't had insurance since I'm 29 years old now, or 28 years old. I know, I'm 56. So for 28 years, I haven't had health insurance.
I love
People are like, "Woo," their minds
New
explode.
realization on Holistically Speaking podcast. Andrea just realized she's uninsured.
For 28 years. So, I at that time with my insurance, my MTV Networks insurance, I just started bouncing around to different doctors to get a different opinion. So the first one was hyperthyroid. The second one that I went to like 6 months later was, oh, you got hypothyroid. And then the next one I went to after that, oh, you have Hashimoto's, right? So all of these different doctors had all recommended medication, 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 medication. And when it got to the Hashimoto's point, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition,
Mhm.
it had nothing to do with my thyroid. It had everything to do with my gut and an overreactive immune system, right? So if I had listened to the initial doctor that wanted to radiate my thyroid, I wouldn't even have a thyroid today.
Mhm.
So I know that I'm a bit of a radical rebel, but I am so happy that I said no to that initial recommendation from my doctor to destroy my thyroid, which is part of the Western medicine medical model,
Mhm.
right? Is to stop the symptom, whatever it is. And that comes with destroying the body, taking a medication that shuts your body up. And I'm not anti Western medicine. If I
Yeah.
get going, I'm walking my dog and I get hit by a car, you don't take me to the health food store. You take me to the hospital. That's the way that it works. But for
You're
anything,
not that radical.
yeah, right. Oh, yeah, put me together with chopsticks.
I'll take the painkillers.
But for anything else, when it comes to your health,
Yeah.
go alternative first and foremost. Go alternative, holistic, natural. Go down that route because things are going to start to shift. And that's my story.
Yeah. What a story. And such an incredible journey. And
Mm,
and while I mean, and if it wasn't for
mm,
mom,
that's right.
do you think you would be where you are?
No, no, I'd
No.
probably still be partying. I'd be like one of those 56-year-old women that you see that's still hanging out in the bar, 2 packs of cigarettes later,
Right.
right?
Right.
Drinking all day long. That might have been my path, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. That my
Yeah.
mom's illness and death was a wake up call for me. It was a wake up call. And, I miss my mother every day. I miss my
Yeah.
mom. I know that there was a lesson to learn and to move forward from that lesson, whatever it was. Take care of yourself, I think was the best lesson.
Yeah. I mean, we learn so much in the healing too, you
Yeah.
know? And it's sad and we lose people, but we gain something from it, Like you said, everything's a lesson. And if we take more time to think about that, even when we're going through it, obviously it's very hard to understand that. But afterwards, you look back and you're like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Now I get it. So thank you for sharing that story. I never knew that about you.
Oh,
And it's so amazing, or to that extent. And it's amazing to think that you know, in this world of modern medicine, we're so fortunate to have the Western medicine. And thankfully, we see more doctors that are going to integrative approaches as
yes.
well and functional medicine approaches. But just a reminder to folks out there, doctors don't go through nutritional training. It's almost like an elective class. They'll be the first to tell you that they don't get the extensive nutritional training in medical school. It's kind of like an additional training. And we're seeing more schools, medical schools that do have more curriculum in that area. I will say that, but it's not the priority. So having health coaches, I mean, where do you see the importance of health coaches in people's lives?
Oh my gosh. Well, health coaches are out of the box where
Mm,
most people in the medical profession are in the box. They've been taught a specific way to work with people, and that's what they are programmed, right? They're
mm,
programmed to do that thing, whatever it is. Look for the disease, suppress the symptom, or cut out an organ, or whatever it is, right? So thankfully, like you said, we have more and more doctors that are becoming integrative, right? They're looking at the
mhm,
situation and going, "Hey, I don't know about this. Let's start elsewhere." And they're actually hiring health coaches in their practices, which is very
yes, they
smart.
are. Mhm,
It's very smart, and even like me in my health coach journey, I started with macrobiotics. I started with diet, but then the layers were deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I started with food, and food is medicine. And then when I had Lyme disease in 2012, I went deeper into like herbs, right? I was like, oh, food is medicine, but you know what? Herbs, that's medicine too, right? I couldn't neglect that. And then, the healing of my thyroid taught me that the thyroid and the body is just one layer, right? And then there's an emotional body, and then there's a
Mhm.
spiritual body, and everything is connected. Human beings are multifaceted creatures.
Mhm.
You have to look at the multifaceted person that is the human being.
Oh, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what holistic is. It's the whole
Yes.
body approach, and when we say whole body, we don't mean just the body.
Yeah.
It is everything that makes you up, and I get that. I get asked that question a lot, like, "What is holistic?
Mm.
What is holistic?" And it is whole body, but it's more than that. It's really I think that's why when I started out in the holistic health world and became a health coach, I wasn't really sure where I was gonna fall, right? Watching people like you dealing more with the food aspect of it, the herbs, and then we started getting more into the mindset about how
Mm.
we can pull in the holistic, which is why I went into holistic mental health. Because as we learned in IIN, the primary foods are not necessarily the fuel that we eat. It's the smaller circle. It's an important circle, but
Yeah.
it's really that bigger. The primary wheel is what it's. Our relationships, our spirituality, our mindfulness and mental health, our home cooking, which is a
Yeah.
big part of that pie. So many things in that wheel. And it's just, it's us being in control of ourselves and being our own healthcare advocates. I can't say that enough. And thankfully you were, because there are a lot of doctors out there that don't understand. And if you're just going to say, okay, I guess I'll just do this, who's living your life for you?
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
And that's a hard pill to swallow, though, no pun intended. That's a hard pill to swallow if you feel vulnerable and you're not able to hold space for yourself. Because in those vulnerable
Mm.
moments, it's hard to step up and be like, okay, the pill seems much easier,
Yeah.
right? And that's what the doctor that went to medical school told me to do. And then to really have to change a whole behavior and habit, right? Like, how was that for you? Was that difficult?
Well, for me, like watching what happened with my mom, it wasn't
Yeah.
difficult for me at all, because I was like, I don't want to go through that, right? I don't want to go through that, which I thought was a nightmare. I used to take her every week to Long Island to get another dose of radiation, right? I was
Mm,
like, I was driving her to the death chamber, right? And
mm,
she'd always say, Ann, I don't want to go. And I'd be like, Ma, you got to go. This is what the doctor said.
mm,
So, like I saw that firsthand. And I was like, that, I don't ever want that to be my experience, right? While
mm.
I'm here on the planet, because life is short. Life is short. We're in and out of the body in the blink of an eye, very
Ain't that
quickly,
the truth?
like
Yeah.
just a blip of a moment in time. And I'm 56 years old now. My mom was 58 when she died. She was just
Mm,
not even halfway, like, right? Still, like I think of myself as in the prime of my life now as a woman who's beyond menopause and has a whole lot of stuff to say to the world and a totally different type of energy, right? Um,
mhm.
I feel like my mom was cut down before her prime,
Yeah.
So for me, it was very quickly to hop on board with holistic health, very quickly. And then I saw the results. Now, I said I started with macrobiotics, but that's not where it ended. Now I eat everything from anywhere as long as it's naturally raised and, naturally raised, humanely raised. I don't want the energy
Mhm,
of a CAFO cow inside my body. I'm going with the grass fed one that's being tended
mhm.
by the farmer. So my diet has shifted throughout this holistic journey. Sometimes you just have to follow whatever you're guided by, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that veganism is bad. In my holistic journey, it was so profound for me to take animals out of the body and then
Mhm.
see what the body said when the animal went back in.
Absolutely. It's like, I mean, we learn about bioindividuality, but I remember I did something similar. I took all the meat out. I think when I was 18, I remember before I even knew what holistic was. I don't even know if there were holistic health coaches back in the early 90s, probably, but they were called gurus back then, right? Because there weren't as many of us. I remember doing a mock trial in high school in upstate New York where I grew up on PETA. And I was like, I will never touch meat again. And I will never, the lambs, they're screaming. And I remember cutting it out, and it took me, I don't know, for a number of years until I went to visit my brother in Hawaii, and he was making this like amazing tuna ahi steak, and I could
Mm.
smell it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's going on around here. He's like, just eat the fish, try the fish, because you feel like, no, I'm supposed to be vegan. I'm supposed to be healthy. And we start telling ourselves these, we label ourselves.
Yes.
And I think the labeling can be very detrimental to who we are and how we're showing up in this world, right?
Yes.
Finding who we are and realizing it's okay to choose this. It's choice, right? Giving
That's right.
ourselves permission. Then you really find your people, and your people find you,
Yeah.
I remember that, like the labeling of, no, I can't do that. I'm a vegan. But I feel like, Andrea, when I was a vegan, I was like a 24-hour roller coaster ride with Sybil at the Switch,
Oh.
because like I'm eating all these things that were like high in soy, and my body was all over the place. So, I mean, you got to find what works for you, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You really do,
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of the path.
Yeah.
You find what works for you. And
Yeah.
you take what I say, you take what you say, you take what the doctor says, you take what this one says, and unless it resonates with you, you don't do it. Or maybe you do
Yeah.
it for a little while, but then listen, what is your body saying? Is this working?
Yeah.
Right? And if it's not
Right.
working, you got to shift, and you got to pivot, and you got to change. There's I remember a wise teacher once told me that the only permanent thing in this lifetime is change.
That's good.
That's good.
That's true.
Wise teacher.
Wise. Love that. So many little like truth bombs, right?
Yes.
Love that. Yeah. I want to ask you something too. You're graciously offering your ebook and understanding how to use food and herbs as medicine. Is this a book that, like, how are you feeling about giving this away? Like, what is it about this that you want to make it an offer?
Oh, it's interesting. Well, I think that your kitchen can be your pharmacy, literally. And when you know how to use food, then it can be applied as medicine. So a lot of people will just be like, I'm eating kale, right? The kale monsters, or the sprout monsters, right? They're just sprouting everything. But everything that you put into your body energetically has a vibration, and the way that it's cooked has a vibration. So if somebody is cold and deficient and not feeling well, this is not the time for raw salads, right? This is not, so it's the time for chicken soup, mushroom broth, right?
Yeah.
This is the food is medicine opt-in, right? When you opt in, you get that little ebook. It teaches you what are the various ways to prepare the food so that it energetically works in your system. Because not all foods are going to work for all people, and not all preparations are going to work for all people. And that's something very important to keep in mind. It also gives you, like what's diaphoretic, the foods that make you sweat, and, the coagulants, all the stuff in the terminology to really make it medicine, but in simple and easy to digest forms.
Yeah. So we're going to put that in the podcast notes of this episode. This is a free ebook. There's no better way than free when somebody's offering something, right? I mean, if it doesn't gravitate to you, you don't have to look at it. But what a gift. I mean, it really is a gift. And I will say this personally, folks, if you don't know who Andrea is, you do now, but I come from experience following her for a number of years, and she knows what she's talking about. So download the ebook. You might find one thing that makes a difference. That's all it takes, is one thing.
Yeah, it's the basics. It's like the first things that you need to know as you step into the kitchen, and you want to make your kitchen a healing space. You need to have this basic understanding. Even if you're not going to cook it yourself, you have to have a basic understanding of what food energetically and vibrationally does to the physical body. I'm energy, and you're energy, and everything in the universe is vibrating at a specific energetic frequency. Right. So when I was working at MTV, my boss used to take these really long lunches, and that was my time to put my head down on my desk and take a nap for about an hour. And that was with 4 cups of coffee in the morning.
My gosh.
I know. I just put my head
Crazy.
down on the desk and I just, good night. It's time for me to go. Middle of the day. I couldn't even
Yeah.
imagine that now, unless I'm sick. Like if I'm sick, if I get a cold or a flu or something, my body naturally says, okay, go into the bed.
Mhm.
Go into the
Yeah, it
bed.
knows what to do. Like
Yeah.
we need to listen to our bodies more. And I was just sharing this today, actually, that our bodies are like, a Doppler radar system. Like
Yes.
if it's going to rain and the weather person says it's going to rain and you decide to go out with an umbrella, you're going against the Doppler radar and the person that knows something about the weather, right? We have our own GPS and inner
Yes.
guidance system. And when we don't follow it, we're going to feel like crap
Yes.
if we go against it, it knows, your body knows it's a well-oiled machine. We tend to
Yes.
sometimes just don't listen to it. Because I don't know, I guess it's not trusting self sometimes.
Well,
Like it can't be that easy,
No,
right?
no, you hit the nail on the head. It's not trusting self because we haven't
Yeah,
been taught to trust ourselves or to
that's very
listen to
true.
ourselves.
Yeah,
We haven't been
yeah.
taught that. Like from the time that you're a kid in school, you're taught listen to the teacher and listen to this one and listen to that one and never listen to what you're saying.
Listen to your doctor.
Listen to your
Right.
doctor.
And listen, this is no slam on doctors because the ones that would even tune into this show and would be here part of this collaborative and this network and this collective are those doctors who believe in the functional and the holistic and the
Yes.
alternative. They're opening or they're considering possibilities, right?
Yes.
So I'm not too worried about ticking anybody off. But if I am, I don't care because we're living our truth, right?
You want to hear a funny story? A quick one. When I first started my business, I had a doctor client who couldn't get pregnant, and she was trying everything for 4 years, miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. So she hired me. She heard about me through another friend. Switched up her diet, took out all the cold foods, put in some warm soups and stews, right? Just changed around everything. Within 4 months, she got pregnant and she had a baby. And it's funny, when she got pregnant, she was in like the 6th or 7th month. And she said to me, she goes, Andrea, she goes, do you know that if you teach people how to heal themselves, you're going to be out of business?
That's the best compliment ever, isn't it?
I know. And I started laughing. And I'm like, I think, first of all, I think there's enough sick people in the world that I don't have to worry about ever being out of business.
I just had this conversation last week, and I say this a lot, that with the work that I do in holistic mental health, I'm like, the antithesis of what I do is I never want to see you again. Like, I don't want you to be small and need me. I'm here if you need me and support and further guidance, but to be able to push you out of the nest and say, go, young one, survive, fly, that's like the biggest gift ever. So to have somebody say you're going to put yourself out of business and I can move up to the Berkshires and everything's good. Right? Tell me something that's going to make me upset. All right. So anyway, I love laughing with you. I want to just mention again this amazing food and herb as medicine free ebook that Andrea is sharing. I'm going to put all of that in the podcast notes of this episode. And I want to play a little game with you that I do with all of my guests. So you got a hot minute to play a little game?
Oh, I got a hot minute, sister.
Oh, you got a hot minute. All right. You're the best. All right. So I'm going to throw out a word, something that you actually have said.
Okay.
And come back to me with the first word that comes to mind. Okay. And this is like boom, 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 rapid fire. Here we go. Queens.
Me.
Yeah, girl. Energy.
Me.
I see where this is going. Alternative?
Oh, everything.
Okay. I was like, you're going to get
I got to switch it up.
right?
It's still me.
Right. It is you. Right. Herbs.
Fantastic.
Cushy?
Good teacher.
Cancer.
A good teacher. Another good teacher. Teaches us a lot about ourselves.
Yeah. MTV?
Fun.
I bet. I want to hear more about that. Holistic.
Life.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's a good one. Life. I like ending on that. Oh, one more word. Menopause.
Easy for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about that for a second. We'll come out of the rapid fire. And by the way, I love doing that game. It's the game show host to me I never got to be. So menopause. I know a lot of my listeners are of that age, either in peri or they're in menopause. And I'm curious, like, what would be your number one tip to women in that part of their lives that you would share? And I know it's bio-individuality and everybody's different, but what would be one thing you would share that you see maybe more with more of your clients and even serving yourself, like what you've done for you?
Okay. So the number one thing that I would share about menopause is to step into it gracefully. So in our society, we have been taught that aging, especially women aging, is unattractive. Aging, we're discarded, we're thrown away at some point. Women, once you're out of the fertility zone and you move into the wise woman, sage zone, right? So we've been called crones and oh God, look at them, they're dried up hags and who needs them now? Right? That's the mentality of the menopausal after menopause woman. And I'm going to encourage you to step into that zone with a whole different frame of mind. Yes, saying goodbye to fertility, but saying hello to wisdom, right? So there is a lot of wisdom in the female body, mind, and spirit that is squashed when we're told that we're not allowed to age. So step into that zone and nourish yourself more deeply, even more deeply, right? So I made a little tea here. I got a little tea. And in that tea, I've got like goji berries, licorice root, oat straw, comfrey. I got a little lemon balm. You know, I've got herbs. Remember you said herbs? And
Mm-hmm.
I love herbs. I have herbal tea every single day. But this is to nourish me more deeply because when we move through menopause, we get a little drier,
Yeah.
right? It's part of the natural aging process, right? Look at the color of my hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's gray. My hair is gray. A little
By the way, I
tiny.
love your hair.
Oh,
Like you
thanks.
wear that. That's like the sage wisdom ethereal. Like if I could do it, and if it happens, I would never color my hair.
Oh, good
Mark
for
my words.
you.
Mark my
Good.
words. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like my silver streaks from the universe, right?
Love it.
So you step into that zone, you know that you need to nourish yourself and moisten yourself a little more. And part of
Mm.
that moistening process, I know most women don't want to hear this, is that maybe don't have so much coffee because coffee is a diuretic and it's actually drying. So do a little moistening tea. It'll help you get through menopause a little easier. Like step into that wise woman. Step into that woman who knows who she is and what she wants and what she needs to say. If you look at the history of hysterectomies, by the way, the history of hysterectomies, when women started to change, when they go through their change, they get emotional,
Mhm.
right? Our emotional body goes up in upheaval and we're like, I want to express this. This thing sucks. This relationship is terrible. This job I don't want to be in, right? We get this burst of wisdom and you're like emotional body is going, what am I supposed to do with all of this? This is a lot
Mm.
for me to digest and process. And in the 19 what was it, late 1800s, early 1900s, they were like, "Oh, this woman is hysterical." But we have found that if we remove the uterus via a hysterical hysterectomy, we
Mhm.
remove the uterus, then the woman calms down, right?
Hmm.
So, hence the birth of the hysterectomy. It was actually an attack on women expressing themselves and becoming, stepping into their emotional body in a bigger way. So, I'm going to suggest, and again, you do what's good for you, but
Mhm.
I'm going to suggest that you step into that phase with grace and wisdom. Take it slow, and try not to be pressured into anything. Like
Mm.
stand. This is the time for you to stand firm in who you are and who you have become as a woman. And women are way more powerful than we have been led to believe, right? So stand in
Yeah.
that power, stand in that Athena, stand in that goddess.
Ooh, love that. I was just going to ask you if you had any closing thoughts, and I'm like, yeah,
That's
pretty much think she covered that. That's amazing. And I feel like you're talking to me too, because I'm like in that stage. And look, I mean, we can show up for others and we can be inspiring and helpful. And it's a sisterhood, it's a collective. But sometimes we have to hear it. We
Mm,
have to be reminded, all of us, right? So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's a moment that I want to sit back and be like, yeah, be your Athena, be your goddess.
yeah.
Always. Always. I love you. You're amazing. I feel like I just had an amazing masterclass with
Mm.
Andrea Beaman, and what a gift this is going to be for the Holistically Speaking community, because you share so much. But in that, even though I know you shared beautifully about women going through menopause, what would you just share in general with folks that are tuning in?
Oh, love yourself. Beyond anything that you're eating and supplements you're taking and all the stuff, the holistic, it starts with loving yourself first and foremost. Like looking in the mirror and saying, oh my God, I totally love Hilary. I totally love Andrea. I'm going to do everything that I can today to take care of her, right? I don't want you to fret about, oh, I got to lose 60 pounds, right? In the future, right? Just today, take it one day at a time. Love yourself every moment of every day that you can, because, at the end of your life, what do you got? You'll have some people around you, but you're going to be taking your soul's journey with you wherever you go on to the next thing, if that's what you believe. That's what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So love yourself, whatever is happening in your life. Love yourself as much as you can, as much as possible. And when you love yourself, you can take care of yourself and you can take care of everyone around you. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, you can't pour from that empty cup. No
That's
way.
right. That's
So
right.
what would the wiser, more goddess like Andrea say to the younger girl that's passed out at the MTV desk after 7 cups of coffee and a pack of cigarettes?
Well, um, I would say to her, keep learning. So even that was an experience that I learned from, without judgment on my past. So keep learning. And when you reflect, like build the story that lifts you up rather than brings you down. Like so many people will go into this space of, oh, I could have, would have, should have done that. And right. You
Mhm.
got this heavy thing you're dragging around that's keeping you down. But if you can, build on your success, whatever your success was. Hey, today I made a great meal. Hey, today I took a walk. Yeah, today I exercised. Today I loved myself. So I would say to the younger Andrea, just continue learning and loving yourself in the process without any regret.
I'll jump on that boat. That sounds amazing. Thanks so much, Andrea. This has been such a joy. You're a delight.
Thank you, Hilary. Thank you. Love you, sister.
Love you. If you haven't grabbed the ebook from Andrea on how to use foods, how to use herbs as medicine, now is the time. What are you waiting for? This is a free ebook with tons of information that you can put to use right away. You'll find the link to download the ebook in the notes of this podcast episode, in addition to connecting with Andrea personally. And if this conversation with Andrea Beaman inspired you in any way, or maybe you know one person who may find this valuable, consider passing it along, pay it forward. You never know how it might change one person's life in just a moment for the good thing that you've done. Holistically Speaking is edited by Two Market Media with music by Lipbone Redding and of course supported by you. So thank you for tuning in week after week. Thank you for showing up. It does not go unnoticed. On that note, remember that you have everything you need to be your own healthcare advocate. I know I say that time and time again, but I just want it to be a reminder. You have everything you need to heal, to grow, to learn. That's part of the Hug It Out way. And it's an inside job first, but you're never doing it alone. I love you. I believe in you, and I'm sending hugs your way. Be well.
I know